Hello, everybody. Just drop us a like, comment, let us know if you can see and hear us okay. I'm just going to check that we've gone live on Facebook as well. Hopefully we have. Yes, we're live. So a few people jump on. I know StreamYard is really slow at the moment. It's taken like a while for like people to jump on.
That's literally because I used to do a lot of stuff with Natalie, and you probably, if you think about it, you probably hear the same. But one of the 90% of the time, there's always a comment from someone saying, "Oh, I think StreamYard's really slow to this." It should just be like a expected, it's no one saying it, because I'm just like, that is like a common occurrence where everyone always says.
Yeah. I should introduce Luke. You're with us today. Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, what you do?
Well, I thought maybe many people would know, but maybe they forgot.
I think people do know. I don't know everybody knows, because there's different audiences as well with the
yeah, it is. It's true. So I used to I was thinking about it, but I used to do with Natalie. Well, it wasn't the original. Maybe it was the original Nevermind the Buy Box. I'm trying to think if she did it with anyone before that.
I don't know.
She used to do Nevermind the Buy Box within another community many bygones ago.
Many years ago.
I think maybe it was like 2.5, 3 years. I can't remember how long I did it for, but yeah, I used to do that with Natalie every whatever it was. Pretty much the same style. But obviously I've been, in terms of background, I won't go into too much detail, but been selling on Amazon for maybe 7 years, something like this. So I've got one of those OG accounts. Do you have one of those OG accounts, instant disbursements?
I have the OG accounts. I have instant disbursements. Not instant.
Yeah, although there's some weird talk. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, there's some weird talk about people having some issues with that. Actually, I've noticed some of the groups. I don't know if it's related to changes. I mean, mine's fine, right? But
I have heard from people that Amazon want to get rid of the 24-hour disbursements and put people on 14 days with reserves. But I don't know. I think there'll be quite a big backlash from people who've got it.
Well, yeah, because if you're used to it, it's like you have to, in a way, like complete your cash flow sort of strategy has to completely. I mean, lots of people already do it, but they've kind of started with it, so it's
part of the strategy.
It's easier to kind of if that's what you got to do, you got to do it. But then it's obviously harder than having to like change things after. But anyway, from that, selling on 7 years. Obviously I've done so many different kind of styles of Amazon. Back in the day, I used to do secondhand, then retail, arbitrage.
Well, I started secondhand back in the day.
Yeah, I was pretty much just flipping Nintendo Wiis.
Yeah, I was.
Nintendo DSs. Literally all like getting like a Pikachu special edition Nintendo Switch or DS or whatever. This was years ago now. And in nice condition, literally just flipping it, like buying secondhand Lego, as in it was brand new, but it was secondhand, right?
Yeah.
And literally flipping it, and like those are the days when I would just wake up and I've got like £500 in sales on 3 items, and it's like double your money, pretty much. Back when I was doing that, but then I got slammed with the authenticity thing on some nunchuck, literally a nunchuck controller, and I thought, you know what, it's not impossible, like because I had like 1,000 nunchucks that I was selling for like £6 or something, and then I had to obviously over time I transitioned across to retail, and then retail and OA, and then OA, and then literally to the point where I moved abroad and then outsourced pretty much all of the operations. I used to do all that. And I used to do my mates prep as well. So I was doing like 40 boxes a day myself. So even though you're like going along the, sort of stepping up, if you want to call it that, there's different levels to it in terms of, you could be doing 100% OA, doing 7 figures, but is it all remote? Are you completely engaged with the business? There's lots of different kind of things you can be doing with that. But yeah, and the last kind of year, probably a bit late, like most people will already know, but I've been sort of heavily getting into creating my own listings. And that's something we're going to talk, and that's another good point in terms of there's been a lot of kind of not weird. I mean, it's not weird at all. It's kind of Amazon stuff that goes on related to kind of listings that aren't yours, where people have, created them under their own brand. They basically registered it under whatever company or whatever it is that they've registered under, and obviously it doesn't match. And these are a lot of mine are really old listings. Not to say that they are old listings, because you could have done it recently, but some of the kind of go-to replenishables that I used to do, many of them where I would have like 100 in stock, 50, you know, like, because you would be selling these for years. You know, I don't think I got hit too badly with deleted listings, but usually you had a month. This has happened in the past where they've just deleted listings, or they're going to delete listings, so it shows up in the inventory. You can kind of prepare. You have like a month to prepare for it, but
yeah,
I think I probably had like 40 listings instantly, like overnight. Just wake up, restricted ASINs, but luckily I wasn't hit too badly. Maybe 30. I still spent like $1,000, I think, over the last 2 months recalling stock. But compared to what it could have been, if I was heavily doing just that, which I haven't been heavily just doing that, then it could be a lot worse. I know that's like, we're going to get into that a bit more later today.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit more, because I think a lot of people have been affected by that, and it's quite frustrating, really, because it just seems to have come out of nowhere that Amazon. There seems to be one thing every year. I think last year was when they were like the restock limits, where they told everybody that the warehouses were full. Was it the year before?
I think it's the year before. I kind of get confused now. Like all the years blend into one a little bit.
All these major events. I think it was 21 actually, where like thousands. I don't remember if anyone remembers. It was awful. Let us know in the comments if you were around for this, where Amazon basically was just like, yeah, we're full. So if you've got more than X amount of inventory, then you've got to pull it back within 30 days, because otherwise it's going to get destroyed, because all the warehouses are full. And people just had nowhere to put this stuff. I mean, I had a warehouse that wasn't too badly affected, but
the prep centers were absolutely annihilated, because for me, I had 3,000 overstock, and I obviously had loads of stock at the prep center, and I had to instantly stop buying because, but I still bought stuff yesterday, day before, wholesale stuff still getting delivered. So obviously they had to find somewhere to put it. Then I had 3,000 units to sell, but just because I sold that 3,000, I still have to come down to get free space. So it took me months to actually kind of sort that. I mean, it seems to be, it is kind of like a known thing that there is once a year, there's something that kind of is an absolute pain in the ass. You can get through it. It's just that you don't really know what it's going to be. You can't really prepare for it. And you just got to accept it as a thing, or not sell on Amazon ultimately.
Yeah. That's it though, isn't it? You play on that platform, you play by that rules, isn't it? So I'm not sure who it is. Someone said out of 420 ASINs, I had 15 removed, some with warning, some just get pulled instantly, complete pain. Yeah, absolutely it was. Someone says, what do you do with all the recalled inventory? Well, what did I do with the recalled inventory? We just stored it for temporarily, and then we kind of dripped it back in. Some people I know switched to merchant fulfilled, but that wasn't really on our strategy, so we didn't really want to do that because we're quite heavily FBA. What did you do with all your stuff
back then? I think I think the first thing I did was basically put everything at break even, or a slight loss if the buy box was at a slight loss, I would just tell you, yep, fine, no problem. And I can't remember if I recalled stock. I think that maybe I did, but what I would have probably done is just if it was like more Q4 related, like there's some, literally this is like the worst item I've got in my inventory. I've had Christmas puddings at Amazon, and I've recalled them multiple times and sent them back in. They are from 2 years ago. I still have 112 of the Christmas puddings. And I'm basically, and what I'm doing is I'm just like, they don't need to be there. I can send them back in at Christmas, and they have like many years life. So there is like strategies, or you could, there's not like a perfect. It depends if you're using a prep center and the size of that prep center. So there might be a short-term solution. Like for example, mine was to put everything at break even and just try to blitz as much as I could ASAP. And I would, as it went on, I was gauging the stock levels and all that kind of thing. But now, obviously, with those, those deleted listings that have been going on, if they're, a lot of them are sort of those older OA replenishables that I would have. I'm recalling them, and I'm just creating a bundle version which is going to include them. Or if I really need, I can send it under like a similar size bundle. If it's a 2-pack's been removed, I only have 20 left. And I'm just like, I'll send it back in, I'll sell out, and I just get I won't sell again because these are OA listings that could have issues later. But like in the short term, I'm just doing. But usually, I'm trying to, as of now, is to create some sort of unique bundle so then I could actually utilize them better than like an OA listing. Because since moving to bundles, I've just realized, well, I was a fool for a long time. I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick with what, I'm going to, it's one of those things in business. It's one of those things in business. Even if you're not doing it fully, it's like, there's literally just one item that I sell, a 2-pack, and it has some sort of unique element to it, but not really. It's pretty much just like an OA product, ultimately. And I used to sell the 1-pack and all that arbitrage style, like whoever's listening it was, making like £1 profit. It was cheap. It was like, I think £1.80, making about £1 or 80p. So it's fine. But create this 2-pack. I was like, yeah, let's create, whatever. Let's just create it. And I think like my sales were like 1,200 on this 2-pack, and my ROI is 200%. And I made it's like £580 profit on that one. And it cost me through £2.80 or something. And I sell it for like between $11.99, $14.99. And I'm like, what? I'm like, just one random item that is in theory just an arbitrage product if you look at it on face value. And I was selling these arbitrage products anyway, like pretty much just a slightly different listing and all that kind of thing. And I'm just like, and no wonder everyone that started bundles back when I, should have started. I'm not going to go into that rant because it's just self-hate right there for myself.
The time wasted of things. Well, I'm sure there's all things that we could have done differently. Hindsight would be, some people say to you, don't they? Well, what's the one thing if you could have anything, could you fly? Could you have unlimited money? It'd be hindsight, I think, for me, going back and not making the mistakes.
It's more like what I learned. The thing is, it's not about the mistakes you make. It's about learning from that. Because in life, you're going to have many things that come up like this. It could be in any part of life, right? So it's like, if something comes up, you don't have to just jump into it, but like at least give a little bit, dip your toes in and see, rather than just being like, no. Because it's not going to really cost you any, it's going to cost you, like, for example, if I just created 5 bundles, it's not going to cost me a lot of money, really, is it? But I would have actually seen
that you've already got. That's the thing here,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think people sometimes think, I have to sort of start a new business and I have to get stuff in specially, and it's like, no, you're taking what you already have. Okay, maybe you may have to add one additional element to make it unique, but you literally take what you already do, and you're increasing revenue on what you've already got.
And it's just like seeing not how easy it is as such, because it's not like there's lots of listings that aren't easy, but but it's just like, it's not also it's nowhere near as difficult as you think, basically, for people. Like I was like, I'm going to stick with what I know. I'm going to just smash it. But I was like, I actually should have just thought, like, now it feels so much easier, if you get what I mean. Then my brain, like, sort of going over how it used to be with OA stuff.
Yeah, I know what Marta's asked. She said, what can you do with all the recalled? Oh, yeah, what can you do now the listing's gone? I think you just kind of answered that then. One of the options is to create a bundle and make the item unique, and therefore being able to create a new listing through a unique bundle, which is a great way of working around some of these listing removals. Should we just dial it back a bit? So, in your opinion, what is the reason that a lot of these listings are being removed? What do you think is the reason for it?
Oh, well, as far as I know, it's because basically the EAN or UPC codes, like Bible Pro has it quite well. Like you just click the analyze and it pops up with those 2 numbers, right? Sometimes they're blank, right? And that could be an exempt listing or something. I don't know. It doesn't say if it's exempt, but I guess it might be. But anyway, if you obviously take those numbers, the UPC or EAN, they're normally both the same number. Sometimes it has a 0 on the EAN one, but you just remove that 0 because you're not meant to have that. Put it into the GS1, what is it? Barcode search or something. GS1 barcode search database. Just paste it in, search, and then obviously it will come up with the business that's a barcode, all right? That's a barcode.
Yeah.
So some business is basically registered that brand. Obviously, if you go on the listing, it will say brand, like where the ASIN and all that kind of information is. Or sometimes it will say it at the top, just under the title. But sometimes it doesn't always say the brand clearly, so you can just go down and have a look. But Bible Pro also has a little brand bit. And obviously that brand might say, I don't know, Dettol. And that UPC, EAN is probably the one you want to use. That one is registered to, I don't know, some random American company that is it could be anything pretty much. It's just going to be any random name. But obviously the problem is even that listing creator can't go to, hey Dettel, like, can you just
What's the end of this product?
can you help me? So I think, and the person that they might not even be selling that listing anymore because it might not be profitable, and they might create a lot of these listings that I was on were like 5 years old, 3 years old.
Yeah,
you can usually find out who the creator was. Like you can go, well, it depends how old it is, but you can go back and Keeper and click where that first little like buy box symbol is. It doesn't, sometimes depending on the age, you can't always see that. There's also a couple of other things you could do, trying to get a gauge of like, are they, but basically I'll just give up if anything like that happens. They're not going to, I've never seen one. I think I've heard someone say they've seen one get fixed, but basically in my mind it's 100% law. Like there's no chance to get that fixed. Because Dettel would have to create something. Well, unless I don't know enough about it, but there might be a way where you could tweak the listing. I don't know if you can like override like an EAN or brands on that. I have never really played around with that far, but like if, for example, if you could change the brands to yourself, you could then link that EAN to yourself. You could then tweak the listing to be slightly different to what the original, like whatever it currently is, so that it all kind of looks like in line with how it would be accepted. And then you could submit it. I mean, that could be a thing. I've not ever been in a position where I need to do that, but I just sort of was thinking
that I know that would work. Maybe not in all cases, but it definitely could work doing it that way. And like you say, that's one of the ways to overcome this. Is to just.
But yeah, if you create, I mean, none of them are ones I've created, so I don't know that. But if there is any that you have, that could be and you were like, oh no, I love this listing, or I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, most people would probably just give up and create another listing properly. It's the way I was, because a lot of these listings that I was on, there wasn't a huge amount of profit in them, like lots of competition.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really any huge incentive to potentially like keep it up. But let's have a little look at these comments.
A few comments. So this is Sean. He says, Luke's made thousands out of me over the years jumping on my VA listings we created, especially key for your time. We created better listings and bundles this year. Been going branded.
That's Sean, I know it is, but
yeah, that's Sean.
For some reason, I can always tell Sean. It's the only person I can tell. It's just like the way that he also, it's just the way he talks. I think. Yeah, that's the
he says as well. Keep it, he's what you said. Keep it to show who created the listing. So that might be really useful information. Being able to look and see who actually was a listing creator, get in contact with them. And
or if they're on the list, if they're on the sorry, I was talking over you, but if they're on the listing, then they might, there's a chance that they fix it. But if they're not on the listing, then they might have deleted it. Because they can delete it if other people are on the listing, and it won't delete the listing. I think that's right. But if you're the only person on the listing and you created it, it will delete the listing from the catalog. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. So if you're the original listing creator and you're the only person selling it and you delete it, then it will delete it. But if there's other people selling, then it won't delete it. That's my understanding.
That person could have also deleted that product because they're like, this isn't worth it anymore, and they wouldn't even know.
But I guess if they had deleted it and you then went out of stock, then that listing would then get deleted, wouldn't it?
So you have to always have people in stock.
I'm not sure. I think you would, because I think if you were out of stock, certainly, because one of the things I tell people is obviously to close all your inactive listings to prevent IP claims.
Yeah.
So that would effectively remove you from the listing. I'm not sure if you are active but out of stock, if it would keep it potentially.
Yeah.
Not sure if anyone knows.
I mean, we're going quite down like the sort of very unusual events here. But
very unusual.
Nothing anyone's had to really look at before.
Sean said, sometimes our own listings get changed, yet it wasn't us. My VA thinks Amazon are doing it. Yeah, I definitely know Amazon are having a catalog tidy up at the moment. They do this periodically. Usually it's in the quieter months, when they have time. And they are tidying up a lot of duplicate listings, a lot of the catalog, because if you think about it from Amazon's perspective, they don't want customers to have a messy catalog with duplicate offers or competing on the same product. It looks very messy. It's not a good customer experience. So one of the things they actively do is tidy the catalog up. But unfortunately, that means people can unfortunately get caught up in that and have their listings removed as part of the either merging of listings into multiples and variations. I've noticed Amazon seems to be having a big thing on variations at the moment, moving a lot of single listings into more variation listings as well. That's another thing I've seen.
Noticed a couple of
people saying.
a couple of those things. But it's been a bit like I remember I had one the other day. Forget exactly what it said, but it came up with a policy. Did it come up with a policy warning, or it came up with some weird thing to say product page deleted? That's probably what it would say, right? Because it's been moved. But the listing was still there, and you click the link. Yeah, that would be right. So I've just worked it out myself, I think, because I was like, "What's going on? Product page deleted, but the product page is still there." But I've just worked it out. Yeah, so I guess that's the ASIN would be different. Is that correct?
Yeah, the ASIN would be different. Yeah, definitely. Marta said again. She said, I think it depends how long the listing was on. If it's for a while, Amazon will adopt it. Yeah, that's another thing. Amazon can adopt listings. And Amazon may actually sell themselves on certain listings, even if you've created them. It's not unheard of that Amazon will actually start actively selling on that listing. Whether it's your product or not, I don't know.
Well, that's why I guess like the more unique you make it. Obviously, if you've got brand, but do they jump on brand registry stuff? I mean, I guess not, but maybe because they're Amazon. Like, I've never really heard of it.
I think it has happened. It's never happened to me personally, but I think it has happened. Yeah, and I suppose as well, I think there's also a consideration as well. Sometimes, if stock gets lost, and a lot of things go on in the background of Amazon. Sometimes you may send some stock in, and it gets lost, and they reimburse you for it, and then they suddenly find it. They may actually start selling it themselves. It's your stock that they lost and they reimbursed you for. That has happened. I know that's happened. I've seen people say that's happened. Again, these are all very rare events. We're talking very, very niche and unlikely.
Like one in like 10,000 or
So Sean says as well, he says, if Amazon are listing we created, we believe Amazon lost our stock and resell it themselves. Yeah, that's exactly what I've heard, is that sometimes Amazon will just resell the stock themselves when they find it. Because I'm not sure what the timescales are, because sometimes they will take the money back off you. They will claw back the reimbursement, and other times I think they just sell it themselves. I guess the theory is, well, if you've got multiple people, particularly with stickerless inventory, which is where you don't label a product, so you don't have to label every single product you do. You can have it stickerless. They may not be able to assign to which person that inventory originally came from, because everyone's using the same barcode. So in that instance, they would probably certainly sell it themselves. So again, it's less likely on a unique bundle listing, but way more common on an arbitrage or a wholesale listing where it's just a single item on a single listing. Definitely. Maybe we've kind of answered that. So basically,
at the end of it today, guys. No, I'm joking.
if you're having issues, then obviously you can get in touch with the brand owner, try and get them to sort the listing out if you can. And also try to look at bundles. It's one of the things we're teaching the Hive is people to bundle. It's a great way to not just fix these kind of issues, but also secure your business more through having your own unique items. It's much less competition. And also it can help you get around some of these products. If you've got products that have been recalled and you consider making bundles with them, you might be able to get them back on the marketplace and active and selling.
I mean, what I've done, even now, what I'm doing a lot of is I'm going, because with replenishables, OA sort of not classic, but pretty much. I would usually have a lot of stock. So obviously that's so I was sort of transitioning to bundles, obviously, like relatively, let's say slowly, but not always slowly. But now with all those issues that have come up, obviously I've thought to myself, wow, even now, like that could happen in the future. So this week the last 7 days, I haven't really seen too much going on, but I never, I'm always like, oh, it's fine now. And then tomorrow I'll get 10 listings deleted or something. But a lot of what I'm doing, it's like, I haven't got that security. If I wanted to sell a lot of OA stuff in high volume, definitely when that kind of thing is going on, maybe it's just once a year, right? But you never know when, you never know what's going to happen next. It's like, you haven't really got that confidence of like being able to really stack up inventory. Because, if you've got over 100, you're kind of screwed in a way. Like, it's not a lot that, yes, you can recall that, but then it's going to be, if you only have 20, 15, 10, fine. It's not so much of an issue. You can just if you're sending it under a 2-pack, maybe there's a 4-pack and a 6-pack. Just, if you want to get rid of it, I would just send it back in under that. Or if it's not a lot, then you can start, if you've got 100, it's very hard to start creating unique bundles. Well, it's not hard to create the new unique bundles, but usually you wouldn't test bundles with a high amount of stock. So you could if you're forced to do it, but it's not really the best way because you don't really know how it's going to perform until you actually get stuck in with it. It has to be selling and obviously doing PPC and stuff. So even in that scenario, it's if you've got a lot of stock, it kind of hinders you a little bit. So if it's a little bit, it's fine. But obviously, if you're, I remember summer back in Q4, definitely. I know that it wouldn't really happen during Q4 probably, but I would have 500 of a product. I would have, I'd have hundreds of different products. And if that happened on even just a handful of them, it's like I've got 1,000 units now. Just and so looking to grow your business, it's a little bit of a thought like, okay, like. If this happened to if you're looking to like grow your business from say 1 to 5 or 10, if you just imagine if you were doing normal OA and you weren't doing anything else, it's like there's limitation. It adds a little bit of a limitation in, which is kind of not what you really want. But with bundles, and I can't believe I'm so much of a activist now for Telerower to be using for bundles. I wasn't ever against it, but I was just really not interested in it. And now I'm just like, yeah, bundles. And I know everyone else is as well. So that is doing it is pretty much.
I think it comes down to adaptation, though, doesn't it? I think the market is changing. Amazon is changing all the time. We all know this, and you're on Amazon. You can't do the same things you used to do, and then moan that they don't work anymore because it's a very fast changing, evolving marketplace. People are coming in all the time. They're always trying to outdo each other, be more competitive. There's always someone with more money than you, more resources than you, bigger team than you is probably going to be able to do it cheaper than you. So it's these kind of techniques that allow people to stand out from the crowd and succeed on Amazon. And it's not taking the lowest hanging fruit. So we keep saying in the Hive and what we're kind of teaching people is that the easiest things to do, the traditional OA, taking something from a shop and sending it to Prep Center and sending it online is the lowest barrier to entry, and therefore it's going to have the most issues, and it's potentially not even very profitable anymore because so many people are doing it and so many people can do it. There's literally nothing stopping anyone going to Argos and taking advantage of their 3 for 2 on toys and sending them into Amazon. And that was 5-10 years ago. That was the opportunity. That was the business opportunity on Amazon, but that isn't the opportunity anymore now.
I mean, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I still think there's opportunity, say, during Q4.
Yeah.
For pretty much well, I mean, definitely the stuff that I'm used to selling, basically just not kids' toys or anything, but kids' related food presents. Like, I don't know. Like I'm one that used to sell like a gazillion pounds of Thorns back in the day, right? And all that, anything that you could say that's similar to those kind of things. And they're always going to do well, but it's a very, the risk in terms of like having a lot of units, it's only for a shorter period of time, so it's less likely. And usually during Q4, there isn't really any change. Like I've never, that I can remember, seen any major changes of any kind during Q4, where it's always been like go Q4. It's never been, oh my God, what the hell do I do now? Something's happened. It's never been like that. And definitely there's, I'm one that also with Q4 would be like holding stock till the last week. Everyone sells out, sell it for double the price, have 400 units and sell 50, 60 a day, that kind of thing. So there's definitely opportunity there still. But, if you've got the cash, why not delve into a bit of everything in theory? But, and a lot of what I'm doing with the bundle side is basically taking the data from all of my Q4s and going, you know what, I know how popular these products are. So that's create bundles of pretty much all different, that's basically use the products from what I've been using before to try to create, I don't know, a Thornton's hamper. I mean, I know it's very basic, right? But that's not what I would create, but you get what I mean. Like I know which ones are sell 1,000, 2,000 in December. And I'm just going to go, well, what's the point? I can't buy from Thornton's anymore. Yes, I'm back. Like pretty much everyone's banned, probably because we just absolutely abused. I was spending 10 grand a day, pretty much. Like some Q4s on the Thorntons, like 5 grand. Next day, 10 grand. It was just ridiculous. So fair enough, they caught on.
But I don't understand that. Why they wouldn't take the sale at the end of the day? Because Thornton's is their own brand, so they can sell. They can decide who sells. I can understand. Say if you take it back to the Argos example, they've got specific agreements with toy manufacturers of who they can sell to. But when it's Thornton's, especially when they were struggling as they were, they're not
Well, I
particularly.
don't think I mean, they're owned by Ferrero, so that's
Yeah,
probably why they haven't gone under. Or maybe they
yeah,
went on, like maybe there was a behind the scenes like buyout. Or I don't actually, I never bothered looking into it, to be honest. But yeah, then like you can notice with Thornton's is that over the years, the amount of stock they have, it dwindles. As in they don't have as much stock as often. They still go out of stock, but yeah. But also the variety that they have is probably, well, when I used to buy from them, when the last time I bought was about 30% of the variety that they had like 3 or 4 years ago. So the options are complete. So they basically stripped back the business almost as much as possible now, to the point where there's literally just like you go on Christmas and Thornton's, there used to be about 20 different things, all different mixes of flavors and bundles and hampers. Now there's like 5 or 6, or there was last year before, 5 different varieties. So you can, even then it's like, are they doing well? Like, what's going on where there is to the... Hello, Alfie. Yeah, you can see the 2 dogs here. Alfie wanted to jump up. This is Alfie, everyone. Say hi. There's the camera. Look. Camera. All right, he's not looking. But yeah,
definitely. But I don't know, because I mean, one of the things that comes with like data, like you've said, data analysis is so key in this business. Is that one of the things I've particularly realized is that 80% of our sales come from 20% of our stock. So, maybe that's their approach. Maybe they've analyzed the data and gone, actually, 80% of our sales come from these 5 products. So if we just stock these 5 products and focus on selling these 5 products, we'll drop 20% of sales, but we'll hugely reduce our cost and wastage. So that's one of the things that might be the approach. But the flip side of that is, like you've said yourself, as a consumer, you go on the website, your first thought is they're obviously closing down because they've only got 5 products. So being very data driven can have pros, and it can also have cons. There's more to business than just data analysis. There's the sort of the human connection, and people perceive things. And I heard a really good bit off topic. I heard a really good example. It's like, for example, if you analyzed a hotel and you took the doorman, for example, the doorman probably costs the hotel, say, 40 grand a year and makes no profit. But his value is not in numbers. It's in the greeting of the guests and the customer experience. Maybe this is a very similar thing here. So 20% of the stock might account for 80% of the sales, but what they've missed is the perceived value that having a full range of products has on their website. So there's lots of things to consider in e-commerce. It's not as simple as just running the numbers when with a strategy like that.
Yeah, I just saw a message about Thornton's and Akali Bami. Did that happen to you as well, Luke? Well, Thornton's, yes. And I even spoke to like their managing directors. I don't even know how it happened, but something, and I was like, oh, maybe I can get in on like direct. But I was like, this is like, I can't, I have to try, is what I thought. But then after a bit of back and forth and that, it was kind of clear that there is an option to do something, but it's basically not for any resale reasons. I know you could like blag it, but I mean, when you're getting that when you're going on that level, there's no point pursuing it if it's clear that that's not what they want. And then with Ocado, they did ban me finally when I was doing about $1,000 a day every day for about 5 years. They finally realized maybe something's wrong here. But I actually have another account somehow, and they're actually really difficult. Like I've had it for 5, this account, other account. So basically, if you still got accounts, this is what I'm doing. Just as a random tip, sorry. I'm going on different devices, like my phone, because my phone had a login to Ocado under a different email. But when I did everything through my computer, even with VPNs and everything like that, they would always know it's me. Even though I changed my name, changed the address slightly, basically I'll change everything. They would always, they wouldn't ever deliver it. They would let you order, but they wouldn't they wouldn't get to the delivery. It would be cancelled. Your account would then not work. But on the phone app, I had the same name as myself. I have the same cards that I had before. Everything's the same, but the account was opened a long time ago on a different device. That account hasn't ever been used on any other, like a computer or anything, and it seems fine. So in my mind, I'm thinking that their app data, how they're driving data and access is different. I don't know if it is. I'm just making it up, probably different through their like apps. So in theory, you could have two accounts, even though it looks like you've got two normal accounts. You've actually got two separate accounts. One's an app version, and even though you can use them on both, you kind of get where I'm going with it. And so I'm starting to like layer up different accounts in the event that obviously wholesale won't matter, right? But if there's a certain retail or whatever, even if it's over Q4, I'm layering up basically at least two accounts if I can, through something like a mobile app as well. And it seems fine. And I know ordered on that $1,000 a week for the last 3 months, and it's been fine. So it's kind of weird, but it made me think like clearly something related to the app is fine, and they're not flagging it. Or on the computer, it's always been. I don't know if it's just a random anomaly, but probably not. I mean, I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with the API access or something.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is. I mean, I'll probably get banned like everyone at some point, and that's fine. But and yeah, like even the only good thing about Tesco is this is just a random sort of comment, but Tesco's is store specific. I'm sure you can get a account-wide ban, but it's store specific. So when you go to actually get a delivery and so I've had one get cancelled like 3 times. They didn't tell me, but when I contacted them, they said, yeah, that store has actually said they're refusing to serve you. And the guy's like, oh, I'm so sorry, that's not up to us. Even though this is Tesco's I'm talking to, it's actually store specific. So in a way, you still get to keep your account, and you could, in theory, that's why it's good to understand this, because you could, if you really wanted to, and you love Tesco's and you were buying a lot from it, just hypothetically, you could just get it delivered to a different prep center, and they would just deal with Tesco's if you want. It's just no, it's a random thought. But if you're putting a lot through Tesco's, there must be some people in the world, and you get that, you could always swap prep centers just for Tesco's, and carry on using it.
Yeah, definitely. I know Mark's showing this. Mark said that back to the thought instances, they'll have a strategic brand plan online, and obviously resellers are not part of that. That I know me and Mark have had a few conversations about this. This is a lot of the thing. I think brands are kind of wising up to Amazon in terms of they're realizing its power and its potential. Whereas before they were kind of sat quite far back, a bit on the fence, weren't really sure what to make of it, what way to go. I think a lot are now realizing it's an investment they need to make. And there's a massive opportunity, I think, for sellers in this community, particularly, to take advantage of that and partner with brands and manage their Amazon for them. Because, I think one of the things we don't forget is, particularly if you've been selling online for a while, you've got a huge amount of skills in the Amazon world. And if you can take these brands and put them onto Amazon for them, that's a massive opportunity without a lot of these problems that OA presents, because you can get things direct. So I think that's one of the things that we're going to be exploring a lot more. I mean, what's your plans for the future? What's your kind of game plan for Amazon going forwards?
Well, the one downside about me is I don't have a 5-year plan like a lot of people, or a 25-year plan. I've seen some posts around some of the groups. But the plan is, in terms of, I don't know if there's a direct timeline on this. I say the next year, it's probably about right, is to just layer up all the different types of bundles, pretty much. So create different trademarks, pretty much what everyone else is doing. When I say everyone else, not everyone, but like a lot of the high people are doing, right? Setting up, and I'm just going to start with what I know, which is pretty much just consumable items. So I'm not really jumping to some random category beauty that I've not sold in for like 5 years. I don't know the brands. I'm not familiar with what people like and don't like. Not in terms of what I like, but I can just look at listings like a product and go, yeah, I know that's a popular brand. Just sort of obscure stuff. And obviously it's just faster and gives you more confidence when you're starting like that. So just layering up those different types of brands over time, so that I'm not relying on any one So I'm not just going, like I'm not going for like almost private label bundling and just focusing on building different brand registries. And, some people probably are doing that where they've got multiple brand registries and they've got multiple products or whatever. They've got like a variety of products under those brands. I'm going to have a layering system, like pretty much what I would. And OA would be part of that for a short period. It's maybe Q4 specific, for example, if potentially. But yeah, obviously it depends on how the bundles go for this Q4 in terms of creations and sales. Maybe it won't even be required because obviously the thing about OA is that it takes a lot more cash flow than it does bundles. That's basically you can put a lot less money in and get the same sales.
Yes.
And so it gives you, it's a lot, like definitely when you've gone to, you understand how much it takes doing OA and that volume, and obviously in your mind you remember how much it is. It almost feels like you're not spending money in some instances now because you're generating the same sales, but you look at how much you spent and you're thinking, Jesus, no, like why have I only spend that? And it's kind of like, obviously it's better to have it like that, and then you've got a bit more breathing space. You don't have to be as tight with your money management, like because you asked, luckily you've got 24-hour disbursement. Obviously it must be even harder if you don't and you're doing volume and you're doing OA, because you've got to think about that. Obviously then when it comes to VAT returns and taxes and stuff, if you're very heavily cash orientated in terms of OA, it's harder. But with bundles, it's a lot easier. And you could take that to the extremes as much as possible. Like anything below 100% ROI, you could be getting rid of. Like if you want, you could basically just keep pummeling different bundles. And if it doesn't perform up to a certain percentage, you're literally just taking them out. Not to say that they don't sell and stuff, but you're like, nope. So in theory, you could actually start doing I never really thought about that, but you could start, $1,000 could be like 6,000 or 7,000 in sales if you had the right products at the right ROIs and stuff. Or I don't really look at ROI, that's why I mentioned that. Rather than like arbitrage could be, well, $3,500, $4,000 for $7,500 or whatever in sales, something like that.
And it's the competition element as well. Don't forget.
And it's price changes, and it's not just that. Yeah, it's like when you've got 100 in stock and someone comes in with 400 at like £3 cheaper or something, or £5 cheaper, and you're like, what is happening? And all those kind of like stress. Basically, it's a lot easier to manage your money, stock levels, inventory. It's not, it starts with that money part, the investment, but obviously it trickles down to the point where you can actually manage them properly. And you don't have to be like jumping around looking and, am I selling that? Why am I not selling that today? Why is it selling tomorrow? And, what's the competition like? Is it changing? Is there,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's the way it's going. I know Mark's commented. He said, I can guarantee to you that very soon, anyone that has a trademark listing or other OEM brands and trademark be suspended, all listings removed. We are seeing a lot of this with the brand generic. Have you had any exposure to generic brand?
Yeah, I started bundles creating them early this year. So I've got like generic listings that I created back then, which I'm still selling because I don't, I've heard some stuff on this, obviously from Natalie and that, but like, not like I've more been watching it, if you get what I mean, just being aware of it, because I've not seen anything happen with generics right now. Maybe people have like actually like happen, but yeah. Like what would you sum it up as if you were selling them? For example, would you even sell if you had generic brands? Would you stop selling them now, or do you?
I wouldn't stop selling them, but I would consider carefully when launching a new one whether to do it that way. If you've got something and it's working, then there's no reason not to carry on with it. At the end of the day, these aren't like Amazon policy issues. It's just the listings are going to get removed. So, that's just going to be inconvenient for you. I think be aware of your stock levels, which is a good thing about bundles. You said the bundles are generally more replenishable in OA, because OA you tend to want to take advantage of price changes. If there's a big supermarket price drop, you are going to be buying as much as you can afford. And that can get you into a little bit of trouble when you have too much stuff. So definitely want to be, with the bundle game, making sure that you've got the right level of stock in, which is hopefully one of the things that Beastout's going to be helping with, make sure people have the right level of stock. And I would just keep selling the generic products for now, but I would carefully consider about launching any new products under generic.
Yeah, it's like I don't have a lot. I'm basically because you can manage the flow of stock a lot easier with, not to say always, like there's always people jumping on listings and doing various things or whatever, but it's always a lot easier. So you can manage your stock flow a lot. Like, for example, I used to with OA, just I wouldn't be too sure about a lot of things. So I wouldn't do that now, but I would always jump in with a bit more stock at the beginning to make sure I'm in stock all the time. But obviously when you create your own listings, it's a lot easier to manage. And once you find that sweet spot, like knowing pretty much where the ranking and the sales are going to be on the product, it's a lot easier to restock confidently, knowing exactly where you're going to be, like in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I've just realized I've actually had a really value-packed session here, haven't we? We've talked about a lot of things very in depth. It's been a great session. Mark says, he said you can't trademark any bundles that contains other brands. My advice is to make hay while the sun shines. Yeah, like I say, I wouldn't stop doing it at the moment. Again, a lot of things that Amazon say they're going to do, they do, or they sometimes they don't do them, or they might not happen for years. So definitely carry on with the bundles if you've got generic bundles, but just be aware that this may happen, and we're kind of still starting to see this. I think what we discussed today with the listing removal, I think, is all part of the same thing of Amazon really tidying up the catalog, making sure that people are listing under the correct brands for the correct products, tying up the brand registry a little bit. So it's definitely making sure that your listings are compliant. You've got the GS1 barcodes and not under random barcodes. It's causing these listing removals, and maybe considering the stock levels you hold as well. Don't go too heavy, because the last thing you want to do is have a listing removed when you've gone massively overstocked on it.
Yeah, because that's the thing I've been thinking a lot of when creating bundles and stuff. It's like looking at the catalog, seeing what's there, trying to figure, because there's nothing stopping a lot of people sort of pretty much creating ones that already exist or similar. And then I was talking to my mate about it. I was like, if people take that to the extreme, it'd be a point where it basically turns into eBay. You're just looking for the one that has the best price because they all pretty much look the same. And you're like, well, which one's the cheapest? And you look on it and this one has a slightly different thing. And this one's like brand new. The other one's, and obviously Amazon don't want that. So you have to start thinking like that in terms of, right, so if that's clearly not what they are looking for, and sometimes I can, if I'm just randomly, I might be searching a brand or looking into stuff, and I'm noticing similar products pretty much just popping up everywhere. And I'm like, this isn't, like, it doesn't happen all the time, but it's like, that isn't what Amazon want. And it makes you think like something has to happen at some point. If this gets worse and worse and worse, and, over the years, there's going to be a point where like 3/4 of the listings are instantly deleted, or some sort of shockwave, because obviously Amazon will go onto it and think, what is this? What is our platform? It doesn't even look like how it should. And and obviously now I'm thinking about that in terms of, well, I don't want to get to that point and be sort of naive to the point of that. I'm more being a little bit careful and like calculating and thinking, well, they probably will have to, do something, and it's going to be maybe they're going to have to, I don't know. This is something I also thought of. It's like, if they had to go about deleting listings, and there's ones that are all compliant, but they're pretty much similar. Like, like where people are basically bundling, I don't know, like chocolates in a Santa's stocking with, I don't know, some sort of Christmassy thing, just making some Christmas bundle up. But there's loads that are basically similar. Well, it might be okay, but I'm thinking they're probably going to look at it and say, even though it's a different, like it's got a different picture on and all that kind of thing, it is kind of the same thing. Is that? And I'm just trying to put myself in their shoes and thinking, how will they act? It's more like a little bit of a random. It's not really there's no point to what I'm saying as such, but it's just more like, I'm trying to be proactive and thinking like, something would happen at that. Well, I feel like Amazon always doing something to neaten up their catalog or improve stuff or make it easier for the customer.
But that's Amazon, isn't it? It's Amazon is such a forward-looking company, and that everything they do is always improvement. But sometimes that removes, sellers get caught up in that kind of wave of change.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. The one point I was thinking is like, if there's very similar listings, they're all compliant, they're all perfect, everything's registered properly, how would they make a decision of removing anything because they're all okay?
Mm-hmm.
And would it be like would it be like the oldest? I was trying to think, how would they have like an indicator or a marker to say these are okay and these aren't? Or would they be forced to change a rule, which then makes them all not compliant? I was just trying to sort of like tick through those boxes. Or for example, like the oldest listing stays and the rest get deleted because this one was the first.
Yeah.
It's just interesting sort of trail of thought like I was running through. Just because obviously if you're looking to get into bundles and do a lot of it, because even if you create something completely unique and perfect and great, it doesn't mean that in a year's time you go and actually search that category and there's loads of copies or similar products like yours. You could be the first and not even be aware that there's lots of others, but later on down the line, people either know who you are as a seller, they have got ideas from you, they've looked at Helium 10 and saw an opportunity and created something very similar. It's just something that I've thought I've been aware of if you are even doing bundles.
Yeah, I know Mark said the decision is primarily made based on if a listing has a true GS1 barcode, and that, which is what we were saying before, wasn't it? Someone said I know this Amazon want brands to have GS1 barcodes. So yeah, that's it. It's the barcode thing is where it's coming into, and I suppose there can only be one barcode for a product in GS1. So if it doesn't have the right barcode, then it's potentially going to get removed, isn't it?
Interesting. Sorry, only because I was like, imagine in 10 years and there's like 100 similar products on Amazon, but they're all fine. And Amazon either have to accept that or they have to like change their platform. I don't know. I don't know why I'm randomly thinking about it.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting where it's going to go, isn't it? I know Sean said eBay is good, not as good as Amazon, but Mark will know eBay is good as another income stream. Yeah, absolutely. And I know people are saying, again, back to the question that Mark asked at the start, what do I do with all my stock that's not on a listing? Well, eBay is a great opportunity for it, something that I think everybody should be on eBay and using multi-channel fulfillment from Amazon. Again, there's no need to set up an entirely new business, just kind of do what you do and get extra sales through eBay. Don't turn this into an eBay chat, but yeah, I definitely think eBay's got a lot of legs at the moment.
I just see there's a lot of messages and comments popping up here, so I'm just trying to get my head around.
Andre says it's like banning the same white label product with a different brand just because they're essentially the same product. Yeah, this is the thing. It's going to be a massive knock-on effect here. I can see why Amazon is doing it because they want to tidy the catalog up. They want it to be a professional site. They don't want it to become like eBay where there's lots of offers for the same product. But equally, I think some people are going to get unfortunately caught up in this and have their listings wrongly removed, which is unfortunate. Is all I can say. It's not. Yeah, I can't do anything to change it.
I'm just thinking, like, if you've got variety, you've got depth in terms of the type of products you're creating, then just like all of us have pretty much had with sort of older OA listings, that if you are selling OA stuff that have been removed, it'll be similar. So it'll be a percentage, well, who knows how much of a percentage, but if you're exposed across many different sort of product ranges, brands, so on and so forth, different types of bundles, maybe you're still selling old, like generic stuff that you've had for ages and you're selling that, you're creating all different types of bundles, then, at least if something happens to one of those areas, like sporadically, then you're kind of protected to some degree in the others, even though you don't know if it will cross across some of the different versions. It's better not to obviously rely heavily on one. You can if you want to go that way, but yeah.
Yeah, that's it. The variety is the spice of life, as you say, and that's a great way to protect yourself, having a variety of products. Again, don't go too wide because that will damage your product knowledge and potentially, put yourself at risk to IP claims with things you don't know about. But definitely having a range of products, a range of listings is a good kind of counteractive to having, because if you put all your eggs in one basket, again, back to platforms, having all your stuff on one platform, again, you have all your stock on one listing and that listing goes, then that's going to be a massive impact on your business. Having multiple categories, multiple listings is a great way to secure your business longer term and certainly keep the cash flow coming in, because even it doesn't even have to be removed. It could get search suppressed by accident. Amazon have bots that scan the website all the time. And we had an example of this. We were selling a keyboard and it had the words type cover, and it's been removed because it was classed as a face mask and it didn't meet face mask regulations. This is completely, we can appeal it, but if this was my only one product and it got taken down, then that would be a huge impact on my business.
Yeah, I remember back in the day that the stuff like that. I have that on food items a lot. It's like, this is a medicine. It's like Angel Delight. It's those kind of things. Similar kind of thing. Yeah, you're not allowed to sell medical goods or prescription goods online. And yeah, it's like a 6-pack of banana Angel Delight. But it's if you've been doing Amazon long enough, you're used to these things, and you don't even really. You take note of it the more it happens, but you also don't get too tied up in thinking about it day to day. It's just something that happens. You action and sort it as and when you need to, and you move on. You don't even sit up at night and think, oh, what if it gets worse? You don't do that. Like maybe in the early stages of being an Amazon seller, I used to think month to month, what if Amazon banned me? It's like, this is like 6 months to 8 months into Amazon. What if Amazon banned me next month? And literally every month I would think, what about next month? And you get to a point where you have to give that up ultimately to actually like go sort of hard in the Amazon business. You've got to either not do it at some point because you can't get emotionally around it with your mind in terms of them changing stuff, or you just push through it and accept whatever happens and you just don't even let it phase you.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a few comments. This is going on. Amazon as the seller are being forced to detach from Amazon Marketplace for the pure practices of forcing people off of selling the same products without having any brand exclusivity. Yes, it's an interesting point with Amazon. If I was Amazon, I wouldn't sell any product personally, because I imagine they make way more money from sellers than they do selling product themselves.
And their own brand products.
And their own brand products, yeah. I wouldn't sell other people's products. I would just leave the marketplace to be open. That's as if I ran Amazon. Because I know a lot of the actual selling they do is loss making, and they've built the platform big enough now through their own sales that if I was Amazon, I would stop selling, and especially with these antitrust things that's been coming out recently. There've been a lot of scrutiny about the practices of basically, taking sellers' data, taking the suppliers and asking for invoices, and then just basically going to the suppliers directly and cutting them out of the market. So I do wonder if Amazon is going to be selling itself long term. Certainly something, big question. Oh, wow, the comments are coming thick and fast, aren't they?
Yeah, it's like a conversation without us being here.
Yes, Anish says that's a good way. Sometimes loan offerings, a good way to hedge. Yeah, so Amazon offer loans as well, so that's something you can look at. I can't keep up with all the comments they're flying in, aren't they? Yeah, Andrew says again, pissing off all the sellers that bring in the money in literally every country they have settled in. I think they do, and I think they don't. I think, one of the things I've learned from building my own website is to appreciate the value of the traffic that Amazon has. It's very hard to have traffic, and I think sometimes you have to just put up with it. Actually, in terms of the fees and things, I think their fees are quite reasonable. The issue, of course, I think for me, the biggest problem with Amazon is the seller support. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's absolutely, yeah. And definitely when I had my, I don't know if you ever saw that conversation, but I got like locked out my seller account.
Yes.
And I had to speak, even the customer side, the buyer account side are useless as well. I thought they would be amazing because they're normally like customer focused, but they were just as clueless, I guess, in terms of understanding what I was even saying, trying to get help. So I don't really worry. Like whatever they say, seller support is what they say. I don't even, it's just about hammering. The only solution is just to hammer the same issue you've got like 1,000 times. Obviously, or email them, managing director, whatever. And I get my VAs to do that, so I'm not one that just sit there and every day sending the same sort of case thing to them. But yeah, like eventually it probably gets solved, right, with everything. But it takes, sometimes like 10, 20, 30 sort of messages, and one person finally realizes what you want and fixes it.
Finally, after much bashing your head against the wall. That is my biggest complaint with Amazon is seller support. It's just, this shouldn't be this difficult to get things resolved. Basic things, every time something goes wrong, you tear your hair out over it rather than just dealing with the product problem. And it's something that they could learn a lot from eBay, because eBay have really good customer support.
Definitely where they don't tell you what you've done.
Yes.
Like you're trying to figure out like for example, that buyer account side issue I had, it says we have sent you an email just explaining what has happened. I didn't get an email. So I said, can you send me the email again? No. I said, right, you open up your laptop, you go to send messages. I was just trying to, you find the email and you click forward, you type my email again and just send it. Like, how is that like the most complicated question I've ever asked you? Just send me the email again. Like what? It's nothing's going to happen if you do that. Like, it's not like suddenly my account's working again, but apparently they can't, that's not a thing. It's just like, you get to the point where you're like, what do you say after when they come, when that is a thing? How do you even have a conversation with someone? Like, I don't usually phone up, but sometimes I do. And it's like, there's literally no words I can say, because I can't think of anything like dumb enough to actually tell them to help me. I just like, no, okay, see ya, bye, yeah, and I just get my VAs, to hammer across. And yeah, usually you get it fixed.
Yeah, definitely. And then Mark said, this is back to the Amazon, what they're going to be in the future thing. Ideally, they like the 3PL sellers handle all the OEM brands. So yeah, my kind of agree with that. I think Amazon longer term will probably end up becoming a kind of logistics business and a platform business, and they won't be necessarily actually selling themselves, and they'll just be the facilitation of the sale. They will deliver the stock. There will be a platform for you to advertise on, and there'll be a platform for brands to advertise on, but they won't necessarily sell themselves. I can definitely see them going that way. It'd be far more profitable for them, for sure, rather than actually holding their own stock. And I think it would actually be better for sellers, because Amazon are very aggressive on price, generally speaking. It could be better for sellers, but that might be the reason they stay in the marketplaces, because they don't want to be perceived to be expensive.
Yeah, it's like, even I don't know what I'm going to say there. So I was just, my brain was like, right, really. No, I was thinking that, maybe even like all Amazon's own products are like actually on a different Amazon website. It's a slight variation for their own, and that traditional Amazon.com.co.uk is like sort of as it is now, but they have some sort of other alternative for themselves as a brand. I mean, because I know that there was a lot of talk. I mean, this is a while ago now, wasn't it? About them having to separate themselves from where they couldn't
marketplace. Yeah,
they couldn't do everything on the same platform, basically. But obviously, I mean, who knows what? I mean, that was a long time ago now. Thinking about it, well, not long, but long enough. Where people were quite, there was a big talk on that, like, oh, what's going to happen to our third-party sellers? Are they going to like get rid of them and all that kind of thing? That was but obviously that
I think Amazon would get rid of themselves before third-party sellers. Personally, I cannot see them getting rid of third-party sellers before themselves.
Yeah, no, I can't. And it's only going to increase as the population goes up. Naturally, I mean, there is obviously some population decline depending on where you are on the planet, but majority, there's many countries that don't even have Amazon services. Like, I'm in Lithuania, there is no Amazon. you have to get it from Germany. So not to say that it would have to be in every country, but regionally a little bit easier. I mean, I guess Poland is next to Lithuania, but still it will take a little while because Poland is relatively large to come. So there's a lot. There's there's still a lot of. Think about it. They're not really in a lot of countries compared to where they could be in like 50 years. And the number of extra sellers and income and third-party sellers that could be created from that is.
The thing is, I mean, obviously in the UK, Amazon is dominant. In the US, Amazon is dominant, but it's not around the world. It's not in Japan. Amazon is not dominant in Japan. I don't think it's particularly big in Australia yet. It is there, but it's not that big. In Europe as well, like you said, I think people think they just assume that it covers the whole of Europe, but Belgium and the Netherlands only got their own dedicated Amazon sites 2 years ago. Like I said, Lithuania's not got it. There's still quite a lot of expansion within European marketplace. Sweden came online about 2 or 3 years ago as well. So that's, again, very, very recent, really, compared to Amazon UK. So there's a lot of growth potential, I think, for Amazon, and in particular the Middle East as well. I know that they're trying to dominate the Middle East. The UAE has a strong marketplace, but that is literally just covering the UAE. That isn't covering the rest of the Middle East marketplace. So there's a lot of growth potential for Amazon, I think. And I think they would probably focus their attention on that than actually on the selling side and trying to get a product £1 cheaper than their sellers, to undercut them. Interesting. Mark says Poland's been a flop. Yes, Allegro is big in Poland. I know this is the problem because Amazon obviously can't expand everywhere so quickly. There's a lot of other marketplaces in these other countries that are far bigger than Amazon. Obviously, in China, is Amazon even operating in China? I don't think they are.
I doubt it.
So there's a lot of massive marketplaces in these other countries that have quite a dominant foothold. So it's quite a big challenge for Amazon to overcome, I think, in some marketplaces for sure. We're about at the hour now, so I'm gonna wrap it up. We're going to end up with like 3-hour discussion about interest rates and all sorts of. As a thing, we all have Amazon. We could talk for hours. Just tell us a little bit about your new project that you were talking to me about before.
Yeah, so I mean, I put it out there in other groups and stuff, but a couple of months ago, I launched Elite VA Academy. This is probably what you're talking about anyway. It's the only thing I've been doing recently for basically a training program for anyone that wants to train their current VAs to run their business. So for me, my VAs will run my business and I'm focusing on creating bundles, doing research. Like that's what I like to do. So I'm focusing on that. So everything else is out the window. All the accountancies get done by them, reconciliations, all the communication, all the admin, all the day-to-day stuff, reconciliations, prep service, purchase sheet. It's like 80 tasks that I think I created within a training. Pretty much just goes into everything to run the day-to-day business. But the actual thing I've released recently is the hired for you service. So before it was just, here's a training course, I guess, for your VAs to train them up to hire, and then you can obviously decide what you want them to do in terms of running your business. But now I've actually released the hire for you service where you can basically get a trained VA, admin VA. They're not for sourcing, only because I don't like sourcing VAs. Definitely if you're moving into bundles and stuff like that as well, it's not like a traditional sourcer, if you would call it that. Yeah. So it's focused around admin. There's over like 80 plus admin tasks, which you can customize to however you want to run your business. But it basically does everything you pretty much need to sort of focus on whatever you want to do in terms of building your business. That's why I did. Obviously, I've been doing it for years. And I got to the point where I was like, there's still a lot of people that don't really do a lot of what I do. And I thought, well, why not create something for people who can do that? So yeah, the new hire for you services come out about 10 days ago. I think that's released then, something like that. So basically we hire a VA for you, train them up over a 2-week period. They learn the training, they have Q&As, they have tests, they have Q&A with me, also my other head head admin assistant, there we go, to make sure they're up to scratch, and then they get handed over to you. So pretty much like all the other, as in the process of all the other hiring services, just that we don't charge anything ridiculous like a lot of them, because I don't really, some of the services are 800 quid to 1,500. I think at the moment it's about 399 or 380 with a discount code. So if you want to check it out, you can go to Elite VA Academy .co.uk/courses/train for you VAs. If you want to have a look. And it details everything.
We'll put a link in the comments, and also we'll do a post as well for you about this.
Thanks.
And yeah, it'll be on the YouTube section as well. So if anyone's watching on YouTube, so yeah, definitely a really great service, I think, for anyone who's interested in it. Really useful. But I've just taken on my first VA. Unbelievably, it's taken me years, but yeah, definitely it's incredible seeing the value that you can get out of virtual assistants. I know, yeah, Andre said incredible how much a VA can achieve on the admin side.
Yeah, I personally think one full-time admin VA can run a 7-figure business in terms of the admin. Obviously, you'd have to get them up, like, make sure they're fully integrated to your business in terms of understanding how you work and everything. But once they've been working for you for a while, just one will be plenty. You don't have to. It's not like a team of VAs like you see around. I don't feel like you even need a team of VAs, really. I think one full-time admin VA been working with you for a while, so they understand your business. They're quick with the tasks. They've done it a lot. They know what's going on. They understand what you buy, you sell, all that kind of thing. One's going to be plenty.
Cool. Yeah. And I think the thing about the admin side is what people forget, you can spend a lot of time sourcing, but if you're not looking after admin, you're not looking after you're checking your cases for reimbursements, you're not checking your returns, you could be losing as much as you're making. So yeah, an admin VA can be completely invaluable.
Yeah, I mean, more it's for me I was spending a lot of time entering all the purchases and then moving it onto the prep sheet, just like half a day. Like the higher you scale your business, the more time you wasting in terms of just doing the day-to-day admin. That doesn't really generate income directly. I mean, like the actual task. It's more like just recording what you already have on a document. And then it was the reconciliations for accounting that I would always leave to the last minute because it would be like just the most boring and not important right now task. And that used to then be a nightmare to go through and find all the old invoices and that. So for me, it was just like start with the things that I had the most, that I was consumed in the most, outsource that. And obviously over time, I think it's over I looked at how many videos I have and each one's a training module and it's 80 plus. And I was like, what? I have 80 on training, like admin tasks that I do. But you'd be surprised at how many you can stack over time to help streamline your business. Even if you have a VA now and you're looking to do that.
Yeah, definitely. A few people commented saying how great it is. I know Pardeep said he was interested what a VA's to be in training. So if you want to get in touch afterwards, yeah, it'd be well worth you two chatting together about that. Sean says, when's Mark coming back on? Mark has very kindly agreed to come on, but I put him back until September because that's when everybody's back focused, Q3, Q4. I think right now everybody's a bit kind of holiday mode, so it would be a shame to get his knowledge on and not get the most out of it. So yeah, he's very kindly agreed to come on to Nevermind the Buy Box in September. So that is, we'll put a post out about that when that's coming on. But yeah, that's going to be one you do not want to miss. You do not want to miss that one. Cool. Right. Thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Really great chat today. A lot of golden nuggets dropped, a lot of in-depth knowledge. So yeah, Sean says it'd probably be a 3-hour video. Yeah, it probably will be with Mark. Yeah, he's got a wealth of knowledge. But so is Luke. So yeah, thank you very much for coming on.
I haven't been doing it. I haven't done a live for a while. So, it's like I have to, all that built up energy. It just needs to come out. And now I'll be good for a couple of months and then I'll find the next one.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll definitely get you back on. Yeah, thank you very much for coming on today. Yeah, and I'll catch you all next week. Actually, I'm away next week, but Natalie's back on next week for Nevermind the Buy Box. So we'll see you all then.
See everyone. Bye.